Hello world, it's Godzilla with you once again. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, I've got another unboxing for you guys. I'm presenting the Mega Punching Kong figure from Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm gonna unbox the figure, then we're gonna look at it, and I'll give you guys my thoughts in this video, so check it out.
Surging up from the depths of the sea on a tidal wave of terror to wreak vengeance on mankind. A gigantic beast, cavalcade of electrifying horror.
Alright, so here we have the Mega Punching Kong figure, the 13-inch figure from the Godzilla vs. Kong lineup. This is the Kong that comes with the sound and action and the battle axe. And comes in this big ol' awesome Godzilla vs. Kong box. We can obviously see Kong, comes with the axe, even a little soldier minifigure with some nice artwork. On the back, you'll see this whole description for the film. Obviously, we've probably all seen the film by now. And then Mega Punchy Kong lights and sounds. Some nice artwork. I've admired the box art for these Godzilla vs. Kong figures. I like this blue and orange theme they've got going on here. I have to admire that in person. They look really, really nice. Here we've got the Legendary and Toho logo and the Monsterverse logo right here. It's a nice box, and Kong is very much front and center. Yeah, I like the Godzilla vs. Kong banner up here. In terms of the box itself, yeah, it's nice. We see some images of Hong Kong here on the side. The box is pretty simple, but let's get really to the figure, right? Because that's why we're really here. So we want to see the figure. So let's unbox this guy. Now we have released the king himself. Yeah, so it does come with a small instruction manual just to kind of show you really how to replace the battery, which it uses 3 of those AG13 batteries apparently, and it kind of also explains what he can do. So we'll look at the features of Kong in just a second, but first I just kind of want to look at the figure himself. The figure is quite big. It's 13 inches, I believe. The head is really well sculpted. Like for a kid's figure, this is actually something, like there's a lot of detail in the hairs. The paint job is actually not too bad. Nice detail around the teeth and the mouth. So his head is super well detailed, his body, his legs and everything. For a figure of this size to get this much detail, I mean, it's very well done. The shoulders could maybe have had a little bit more detail, but I think they needed to make room for this big ball joint. You know, we gave Playmates a hard time for their early Godzilla figures they made. Kind of a big epic fail for Playmates toys. And it has a lot of fans worried because they have the license for the Godzilla vs. Kong figures. But for this figure, the sculpt is actually quite nice, and the paint job isn't too bad either. Considering that this is really more meant for kids, this is definitely for older kids because a figure of this size, of this quality, price would probably be more for an older child than like a little kid, so I think that's why the quality is a bit higher. There are the little screws that would go here, and they are a bit noticeable. However, the mold and the paint does kind of help hide them. The back is not the most visually pleasing. Well, it is what it is, but for the front he looks great, and even from the side, definitely he looks good. That's him in terms of the mold and the sculpt. The axe also looks pretty nice. It's got a pretty decent paint job, maybe a little bit sloppy in some sections. The mold itself, it does look a little bit more, not as detailed, like it looks just very, in comparison to the detail on Kong, this looks very low rendered, like they just kind of threw this together, especially the staff part. The axe itself looks not too bad, but the staff part does look very just, maybe like it's almost like a cheaper plastic they used for it, but it is nice and soft. Since this was meant more for a younger kids, it probably had to be made so it wouldn't be a safety hazard, so that's probably why they also had to kind of tone down the spikiness of it. But the detail on it could have been a bit better. The paint job is all right. So the axe itself is not, I'd say, the best part of this figure, but it is cool that they included it. The other Playmates Kong figure that's 11 inches, I believe, doesn't even come with the axe, so this is the only one of the larger Playmates Kongs that actually comes with an axe, unless you want to go and make your own. Next with Kong, I just want to look at some of the features of the figure and obviously posability. negative of the posability I would say is his legs are not posable compared to, I believe, the other 11-inch Playmates Kong figure, which is strange that they chose to make, of all things, his legs not posable. Probably the weakest part of this figure is that, of all things, like, Kong is quite mobile, so his legs should be quite movable. But the rest of the figure actually has quite a lot of posability. The legs don't have any posability, but the feet are posable. The arms are quite posable, and they don't feel too bad either. They do full 360 rotation, and then they got this nice big ball joint. It's a little stiff, it seems, but that's still pretty good. And then the arms actually almost do a 360 rotate, I believe, so the arms are quite posable. You can get him in some great fighting poses, and the hands do a full 360 rotation. So the arms, tons of posability there for like a figure of this quality. The head, full, you can do, his head is fully 360 posable, but his legs have no posability. Very strange choice. And his mouth actually opens and closes, which is pretty cool. Like, I had an old 2005 Peter Jackson Kong figure that had sound and action, and when you press the chest, the mouth would open. This figure, the mouth opens on your own decisioning. So for posability, except for the legs, I think it's actually quite good. I think now we can talk about the sound and lights, because that's really the big selling point of this figure. How do those work? Well, as shown before, on the back, there is a button. So you can have him roar and his eyes will light up. And so you can have him open his mouth. I also wanted to point out I didn't put any batteries in this. The figure came already with batteries, so that was pretty nice. So the other way you can get Kong to roar is this moving feature. So if you turn him to the left or to the right, and his body. So you could, in theory, wind up a punch and then. So that's a lot of fun. The body does snap right back into place like that. It doesn't matter the left or the right, he does it. And then finally, the axe. There you go, that's him with the axe. I feel like in the movie, proportionate to his body, the axe was actually a bit bigger. It does feel a little small. Kong himself is great. I definitely think the mold is great. The posability is good, except for the fact that the legs aren't posable for whatever reason. I'd say the axe is honestly the weakest part of this figure. The detail isn't great, and it's kind of small. And of course, Kong is definitely imposing as a figure. I wanted to give a comparison to other Godzilla figures so you could get a sense of this guy's scale, because he's quite big. And this is one of my Bandai Godzilla figures I have, one of the larger ones I have. They have a 9-inch scale that Bandai doesn't really do anymore, but this is the Tokyo SOS Godzilla, one of my favorites, by the way. Definitely Kong is huge compared to this figure. I believe this Kong figure scales mainly with the 13-inch nuclear blast Godzilla figure that they were meant to go with. So this Kong figure is quite big. They actually even have it on the bottom of the box. Also look for the Mega Heat Ray Godzilla. That's what it's called. So he scales mainly with the Mega Heat Ray Godzilla and any other like larger 13-inch Godzilla figures. So yeah, he's a big guy and he's gonna look huge compared to your other figures. So I think that overall, this is a good figure. It's tough to get your hands on these figures these days because of scalpers and everything. For less than $100 US, I think this guy, even like 60, 70 US dollars, I think this guy could be worth it, to be fair. It depends on your region if you can get your hands on him. But I think for what it is of the sculpt, the posability, the effects, everything that you get with him, I think it's a really cool figure. But I definitely think, especially if you love Kong, you want a really good Kong figure, I think this is one of the best ones you can get. This is the SH Monster Arts figure, which is much more high quality, more posability. When it comes to SH Monster Arts, it's always like, what do you want out of a figure? Do you want something more fun and light and sound? Do you want something super posable, super detailed? I'm very happy with this figure. I think it's very nice, and I'm just happy to have Kong in my collection. And I don't have any other Kong figures currently, so it's good to have the King of Skull Island back in my collection in force. And I really like this figure, and I think it's a great figure for Kong fans. And yeah, that's really my thoughts on this figure. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the figure. Do you have your own? Do you want to get it? Are you gonna get maybe some of the other Kong figures? Let me know, I want to hear from you guys. As always, like, share, subscribe. Liking really helps the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.